Welcome, I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, a heart coherence coach, and this is the Live by Heart Today show. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. Well, I was now onto the wily ways of what poison ivy looked like, how it grew as vines after having dropped its leaves in the fall, and regrowing these leaves at the tips of vines, at the tips of shoots in the spring. I was itching like crazy. I noticed it started as just a couple of raised areas on my skin around my ankle. And to decrease the itchiness, I was covering it with tape, which I believed was serving double duty. It was keeping me from scratching, and it was supposed to prevent the poison ivy rash from spreading. However, every time the tape came off, because it would catch on my clothes or the stickiness, it wouldn't stick properly, the stickiness was coming off, the rash was spreading right next to the initial bumps that I had. So it seemed like my rash was getting worse around the area where the original bumps had started, which, as you know, means more itching. Honestly, it was driving my mind crazy. I was consciously not scratching where my skin was itching, and it was itching all the time. So while I was getting dressed, while I was doing chores, while I was making breakfast, washing dishes, there was this constant irritating scratch here message going on in my head, and my need to prevent myself from actually itching it. So, a couple of things: the message and then the restraint, the message and the restraint. This was definitely an opportunity to practice heart coherence because, as you know, heart coherence quiets the loud voice in your head so you can hear the softer voice in your heart. And the scratch here voice was super loud. It was so loud that it was waking me up at night. The itching would wake me up at night, and then that voice that was saying, "Go ahead, scratch, scratch." The other important experience I want to share is about how sensitive my awareness of what was touching my skin, how that became heightened. Anytime I was outside and a leaf would brush my forearm, or one of these little hairs around my face would touch my lip or my nose, my brain would leap into a kind of fear response and say, it might be poison ivy. This is that same voice I mentioned in a prior episode, number 16, called Broader Understanding, about the 4 stitches I had had in my hand and how that voice had been giving me warning signals after my injury. I just want to stress this concept to help you understand it. Our brain is hardwired to protect our physical body. And when we have negative experiences, it shouts really loud at us because it's trying to avoid those negative experiences again. Not only that, not only is it shouting at us, but it shouts at other people too. I can't help but remember the people I was growing up with in the church I attended. They kept telling us teenagers that we shouldn't go to movies and we shouldn't go to the movie theater because there were movies rated not for teens there. And those people were adamant about it. We couldn't go and watch, they were saying we couldn't go and watch a rated G movie because of the other movies that were there. Their brains had had such negative experiences that it wasn't enough that they were shouting, their brains were shouting at themselves, but now they were shouting at us as teenagers. It was really incredible. And this was an act of protection. They were trying to protect us from something they had experienced. Now I know. Here's a question. What does your brain protect you from? You'll recognize that voice in your head because it's so loud and because it may also be loud and directed at others. Go ahead and answer that question for me in the comments below. I'd love to hear. If you're tired of that shouting in your head, Feel free to reach out so you can begin your journey at quieting that voice. Heart coherence is the key. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me and for opening your heart. It would mean a lot to me if you'd click like on that video. And if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of these videos that happen every Monday through Friday at 4:44 Pacific time. If you found this beneficial, please feel free to share it with someone who you think may benefit from the content as well. Live in your quiet mind. Practice a quiet mind when you live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of Live by Heart Today.
And thank you to our sponsors for making the show possible. Hooray!
Thank you for joining us. Have a happy always. View more episodes on our website.
We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation.